Let's talk about psychiatric hospitalization. So first off, I'm bipolar 1 and an intern therapist at a psych ward. I both intern at a psych ward as a therapist, but I've also been hospitalized personally 6 times at 5 different hospitals for suicidal ideation, mania, psychosis, mixed episodes, so pretty much the entire gambit. So psychiatric hospitalization is a behemoth of a topic, and you may have heard very positive things, or you've most likely heard very negative things, because it can be genuinely life-saving and a very good experience, or it can be genuinely traumatizing. So this is a very nuanced topic, and I want to provide my perspective as someone who has both been hospitalized and has worked on the other side. So you may wonder why this topic is so polarizing and why some people have very positive experiences while others have very negative experiences. And the answer is, it depends. It depends on what facility you go to. It depends on what unit you're placed in. It depends on your reason for admission. It depends on your voluntary status. It depends on the other patients in the unit, and it depends on the staff that are there. Oh, and the medication they give you, that's a huge one. So these different variables dictate whether someone will have a very positive experience or a very negative experience. Just facilities in general, they vary so much. Of the ones that I've been to, I've had one that was in the news for a whole entire controversy about neglecting patients and misusing the Baker Act. And then I've been in other ones that are absolutely fantastic. So again, it just varies so much. So you'll typically have a day room that has a TV in it. You'll typically have group sessions, which will include psychotherapy, recreational therapy, art therapy, sometimes music therapy, and then hopefully you'll be able to go outside in an outdoor area, but that's not necessarily guaranteed. You also should have hot lunches, hopefully, but one place I went to just gave us TV dinners, and then other places will have like gourmet meals, so again, it depends. Hopefully you see social workers, you see a psychiatrist, you see a medical doctor, and sometimes you may see an individual therapist, and during the day you'll probably be monitored by nurses and behavioral technicians. So one big thing that people may not know is that each facility likely has multiple units. So typically you'll see a non-acute unit, you'll see an acute unit, you may see a geriatric unit, a pediatric unit, and maybe a psych detox. So the biggest thing you want to look out for is the difference between the acute and the non-acute unit. So acute is where we see people in psychosis, people who are manic, people who are aggressive. That's the biggest one. Non-acute, you're more likely to see people with suicidal ideation, anxiety, PTSD, OCD, medication stabilization. So obviously, you're gonna have a pretty intense experience in the acute unit if you don't need to be there. Typically, the placements are pretty good, but I have seen someone with like just anxiety be placed in the acute unit with like aggressive people, and then that obviously made her anxiety worse. And I have also seen people who are like pretty manic be placed in the non-acute unit and then be very disruptive and kind of freak everyone out. So it's not always perfect, but personally, I haven't had a very terrible experience with that. And then obviously geriatric, you're gonna see people, I think like over the age of 55, depending on where you're at. Pediatric, you're gonna see minors. However, you may be placed in different units depending on especially capacity. So if one unit's full, then they may place you in the other unit. Or like in my case, I've been to one place where they just put me on the ground on a mat. So that's another option. When I was a minor, they actually placed me in the solitary room because they're out of beds. So I was just in this tiny concrete room with the metal bed with leather straps on it and a security camera overhead. So that was a little bit traumatizing. And then it also depends on the admissions people. So sometimes people may come and they present in a relatively calm way, and then they escalate and may become very aggressive or psychotic after that. So that may explain why they're in the non-acute unit, even though they really should be in the acute unit. Next, we should talk about medication because this can also determine whether you have a positive or a negative experience. So I've been over-medicated before. I've been given a shot of Abilify, even though I was already on oral Abilify, and then later psychiatrist said that it wasn't necessary, so why the fuck did they give me a $3,000 shot of Abilify? I couldn't sit for days. However, my most recent hospitalization, they stabilized my medication and put me on a new antipsychotic that was great, had very little side effects. Fantastic. So again, it just depends. But yeah, they definitely will over-medicate certain people and put them on like antipsychotics when they really don't need them. And other times they just mismedicate people, or other times they may not shift medications around at all. And yeah, not great. Well, my camera's actually about to die, so I'm not gonna be able to finish this video, but I may do a part 2 and also talk about involuntary hospitalization because that's such a controversial topic. But yeah, ending this video. It's been Aiden. Thank you. Bye.